Chapter 12, Statistics and Probability. Lesson 4, Compare Populations. Learning Objectives. Compare two populations using the measures of center and variability. Compare two populations when only one is symmetric. Keywords: box plot, double box plot. Compare two populations. A box plot uses number line to show the distribution of a set of data. It divides a set of data into four parts using the median and the quartiles. A box is drawn around the quartile values, and whiskers extended from each quartile to the minimum and maximum values are not outliers. A double box plot consists of two box plots graphed on the same number line. You can draw inferences about two populations in a double box plot by comparing their centers and variability. Example 1. Paula surveyed a group of students in her science class and in her math class. The double box plot shows the result for both classes. Compare their centers and variations. Write an inference you can draw about the two populations. Neither box plot is symmetric. Use the median to compare the centers and the interquartile range to compare the variations. The median of math class is 10 and of science class is 20. The interquartile range 20 minus 5 equal 15, and for science 25 minus 15 equal 10. Overall, the science students posted more blogs than the math students. The median for the science class is twice the median for the math class. There is a greater spread of data around the median for the math class than the science class. Example 2. The double dot plot blue shows the daily high temperatures for two cities in the US for 13 days. Compare the centers and variations of the two populations. Write an inference you can draw about the two populations. Both dot plots are symmetric. Use the mean to compare the centers and use the mean absolute deviation rounded to the nearest tenth to compare the variation. So we will start finding the mean for each data set. The mean is 81 and 84 respectively, and the mean absolute deviation is 1.4 for Springfield, and for the Lake City is 1.4 as well. While both cities have the same variation or spread of data about each of their means, Lake City has a greater mean temperature than Springfield. Overall, Lake City has warmer weather than Springfield during the period the data was recorded. Only one symmetric population. You can compare two populations when only one is symmetric. The mean and the median of symmetric distribution are very similar, if not the same. So you can use the median and interquartile range for both populations. Example 3. The double box plot shows the daily participants for two zipline companies for 1 month. Compare the centers and variations of the two populations. Which company has the greater number of daily participants? The distribution of zip adventures is symmetric, while the distribution of three top tours is not symmetric. Use the median and the interquartile range to compare the populations. The median of three top tours is 70 and the ZIP adventures is 50. Interquartile range is 30 and 20 respectively. So overall, three top tours has a greater number of daily participants. However, three top tours also has a greater variation. So it's more difficult to predict how many participants they may have each day. Zip has a greater consistency in their distribution. The double dot below shows Khalid's and Tarek's race times for different 3 kilometers races. Compare the centers and variations of the two populations. Which runner is more likely to run a faster race? We noticed that the distribution of Khalid's race time is symmetric and the distribution of Tarek's race time is not symmetric. So we'll use the median and the interquartile range. The median for Khalid is 18 and for Tarek is 17. Interquartile range for Khalid is 2 and for Tarek is 4. Tarek has 15 race times and 3 of these times are more than Khalid's maximum. However, Tariq also has a greater variation as we can see from the graph. Also, Khalid has greater consistency in him race times distribution. Overall, we can say that Khalid is slightly faster than Tariq. Independent facts. Abdurrahman randomly asked customers at two different restaurants how long they waited for a table before they were seated. The double box plot shows the results. Compare their centers and variations. Write an inference you can draw about the two populations. Aisha's steakhouse has great median and variation than Zaid's graph. Moreover, Zaid's graph's distribution is consistent and symmetric. Overall, I believe the average waiting time for Zayed's graph is a little bit shorter than Aisha's steakhouse. The double dot plot blue shows the heights in centimeters for a grade 8 classes and the grade 7 classes in Saleh's school. Compare the center and variations of the two populations, round to the nearest tenth. Write an inference you can draw about the two populations. Obviously, grade 7 has higher median than grade 8. However, grade 8's distributions shows more consistency than grade 7. Generally, we can say that grade 7 students are taller than grade 8. Activity. The double box plot blue shows the number of daily visitors for two different parks. Use the medians to compare the centers of the dataset. Which park has a greater variability in the number of daily visitors? In general, which park has more daily visitors? Justify your response. For which park could you more accurately predict? For which park could you more accurately predict the number of daily visitors on any given day? And explain your reasoning. The median of Canyon Overlook is greater than Summer Lake. Canyon Overlook is the answer of 8. Canyon Overlook has higher median than Summer Lake. However, the variation of Summer Lake is much smaller than the variation of Canyon Overlook. Generally, we can say that the number of Canyon Overlook's visitors is slightly larger than Summer Lake. 10. Summer Lake Park because it has smaller variation. Model with mathematics. two hockey teams, the Warriors and the Bulldogs, played 15 games each during a month. Both scored a minimum of 0 goals and a maximum of 8 goals. The Bulldogs generally scored fewer goals than the Warriors. Draw a possible double box plot for this situation. Now for Warriors, the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 0. And somewhere we have, okay, for both we will start graphing. The minimum is 0 and the maximum is 8. However, the Bulldogs generally score fewer goals than the Warriors, so the graph will be like this for both. We can see that the median for Bulldogs is smaller than the median for the Warriors. That's because, in general, the Bulldogs scored fewer goals than the Warriors. So these are possible double box plots. Summary. A box plot uses a number line to show the distribution of a set of data. The mean and the median of symmetric distribution are very similar, if not the same. Plenary. A data distribution has a minimum value of 16, a maximum value of 45, a median of 35, a first quartile of 22, a third quartile value of 39. Which box plot shows data values that are generally greater than the ones given? So we will think about the first quartile 22 and the third quartile. So whatever is greater than these two values is considered as a greater box plot. The first quartile in B is a little bit greater than 22, and the third quartile is more than 39. It's 40, and also the median is more than 35. So B plot. Which of the following is not true about the double box plot? The data for the steer roller coasters is not symmetric. The fastest steer roller coasters traveled 135 kilometers per hour. The smallest wooden roller coaster travels 60 kilometers per hour. Yes, you are correct. The data for the steer roller coasters is symmetric. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.